want to take too much of your time, man. Hey, y'all, we back. I know you're gonna try to laugh a little bit, bro, but I'm in my series bag, bro. You know what I'm saying? In my interview bag, bro. We got a Warner Robins legend on this episode, man.
That's right.
We got my guy, somebody that I can say I sincerely look up to. I ain't never told you that, but all just aside, bro, you really inspiration on just your journey to where you are today.
I appreciate it, bro.
So I wanted to bring you on, man, just let you, talk about it a little bit.
Absolutely, man. First off, you ain't legend in Warner Robins unless you know wartime. That's the only reason why. That's the only way you legend if you know what the wartime means. You ain't saying wartime, you ain't legend.
That's a fact, bro. That's a fact. My boy, Mr. Anthony Harris, man. Just introduce yourself a little bit, man. Let people know who you is, what you do, type stuff.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be on, man, and to support you. I can equally say a whole lot about you, just kind of watching you grow, mature, into a father, into staff, to a tech sergeant, and also, man, into like your business, man, for real. Like I even went and caught me, my I Hoop for real sweatshirt, just so y'all know, and you might want to post a picture of that.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna put it on there. I appreciate it.
But yeah, man, this man is super creative, and so anytime you ask to kind of come through and do something, man, I'm always on board. So
yeah,
but man, so of course born and raised right there in Warner Robins, Georgia, man. Graduated from the mighty Northside High School.
We're gonna cut that out.
Oh, we're gonna cut that out? Yeah. Don't cut us out, bro. That's the problem. It used to be Northside Georgia at some point, but no, man. End up, of course, in uniform right now, so in the Air Force Reserve. Been in for like 17 years prior, enlisted. So started out up here at Dobbins, actually at Security Forces, and went into the military when I was a freshman in college, not even really knowing kind of what that career path was going to look like.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just kind of went in because it was something to do, and I needed some extra money. But 17 years later, man, here I am as a captain. You know what I'm saying, and still plan to kind of hang around and stay in a little bit longer. So,
yeah,
on the civilian side, I'm a licensed clinical therapist, owner of Interlink Counseling and Consulting, owner and CEO of Interlink Counseling and Consulting. Recently expanded the practice, the operation, right now in Conyers, Georgia. Currently got about 4 or 5 therapists working for the practice, and pretty soon we'll be looking to expand into another area, south of Atlanta. So, man, that's going really well. Just really enjoying in life, man, and kind of the different opportunities that's come my way. Got a son, Carson, wife, Miss Joanne, who is currently with our little girl, who will be here in a little while.
Yeah.
Miss Ava. So many different blessings, man. I'm just really grateful, bro, for all the different things that's been happening.
Now, I met you in 2015, 16? 2015,
2015.
But you went to school with my brother, so that's how we kind of clicked up. I had a new opportunity. I don't know how long you had been there, but I know it was a few years before me. But I can say I watched this man go from, I think I met you at a staff. I say you rank up to a tech.
Yep.
And then when you made tech, you said you wanted to do something different, and I was like, man, I think you can do it because overcome so many other obstacles. Then you put on lieutenant.
That's right.
I always call you LT, just because I like to ring to it. But man, I wanted you to what made you go, you can either start from childhood or wherever, that made you want to, because you got the life you lived so far, bro. You graduated high school, you went to college, graduated college. Now you're a captain in the military, bro. Like you said, 17 years. What made you want to go into the career field of having your own practice, bro? Because I met you, and when you opened your own practice, I thought it was super, super dope that you opened your own practice down at Warner Robins. What made you want to get into that career field? Because today, I feel like a lot of people are kind of stray away from that part of their life, even though I think it plays a big part in mental health and stuff like that. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, especially us.
That's right.
As men, we don't like to go into feelings and not really
my feelings,
putting it on the back burner of how we feel and stuff like that. Like we don't really know how to cope with things and stuff like that. Just go into that, like what made you want to get into that particular career field?
Yeah, man, that's wow, man, that's powerful, bro. And we might need to do a part 2 to this. But
we're gonna have to. I already know.
But I'll stay within our time frame, man, and just looking at where I came from, man. I came from a lot of people that struggle with mental health issues, man. And I know everyone knows, like, you grew up in these families, and oftentimes it was almost like, that's so-and-so, he ain't right, or, something going on with him, but nobody would ever really call it what it was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when I went through a series of just struggles in my own life, man, and, I battled with drinking, I battled with, self-esteem, I grew up without my father in my life, and quite naturally, kids that are exposed to, those type of things growing up, you're gonna have some battles with how you see yourself, and how you not just see yourself, but how you understand the world around you.
Right.
And what I saw, honestly, man, I started to see how, a lot of those issues earlier on in my life started to play into decisions that I was making,
right,
in everyday life. I started to see, like, my decision, to even when I was in high school, I used to play sports, and I used to feel like, I was pretty good, but somehow I had like this, that self-defeating, thought, like in the back of my mind, like,
yeah.
I thought that, you're only gonna get so far.
Right.
No matter what I used to try to do to overcome that, you used to still feel like, man, I'm only gonna get so far.
Right.
And something gonna happen. That other shoe gonna drop. You know what I mean? Or, when I got ready to go into the military, I had the same thing. Like, man, something gonna happen. I'm not gonna make it. These are the things. These are the voices that are going on in my mind that that people really don't like to talk about.
Right.
In mental health we call it like self-defeating statements. And I started to realize, bro, I had a lot of those.
Yeah.
And when I went to see a counselor, like after the second time I got pulled over drinking and driving, I went to see a therapist. And I'm sitting there like, I ain't finna sit up and tell these people my business. and one of the reasons why was because the therapist didn't look like me. And in my mind I said, you know what? This person is not military. And, to be frank, they wasn't African American.
Right.
And so I'm like, they're not gonna understand my situation. They're not gonna understand my issues.
Know exactly where you're coming from.
Exactly. And when you're working especially with African American males, you gotta understand context.
Right.
You cannot take, especially when you're trying to diagnose or you're trying to look at mental health issues, bro. So, but I went through it. And to be honest with you, this person who was Caucasian, who was female and was not military, so we didn't have anything in common on any level, really helped me work through some things. So
right.
I'm not saying that they can't do it.
Right.
But, I'm saying that, the more rapport that is there can make that process a lot easier. Right. But this person really did. And so I bought into the process, bro. As I was going through it, as I was working through things myself, I started to get like a perspective on life that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And I always kind of likened it to kind of a basketball game. Like, to me, it felt like, how you in the game and you just out there messing it up.
Yeah.
And the coach called time out and pull you on the sideline.
Take a seat
because, and you like, I'm what I'm doing, what I'm saying? I'm trying to, run the play, I'm trying to do the motions, but he's pulling you out of the game so that you can see things that you can't see while you're in it.
Right.
And so when you sit on the sideline, you have a more objective view of the game. And so when he puts you back in the game, you go back in with new information,
right,
and you're able to execute. So that was the approach that she kind of took with me when it came to mental health. And I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to show brothers. I want to show, soldiers, airmen, people that look like me. I want to be able to pull them out of the game of life, sit them on the sideline, on the bench, and say, hey, let's slow things down so that you can see life more objectively and go back into it with new information. So yeah, that's why I did it.
That's super dope, man. Because I can honestly say, I've never heard this story before. Like, all of this is super organic. I didn't even think to ever ask you, why you actually wanted to get into that. So it took a counseling session for yourself that made you want to actually do it as a career field.
It did.
That's super dope. And now, were you already going to college and then you switched over, or did you go into college saying I wanted to do that?
Yeah, I went in like I after that counseling session, I went and started looking for programs. By then I had my bachelor's degree in business, and my whole mentality was I was gonna pursue the business route, and I was gonna be the next, CEO of whatever company. Like, I don't want to name company because they ain't paying me for it, but I want to be the next CEO of whatever company. But you know what I'm saying? I was like, that was my career path. But after, kind of working through a lot of those issues, that's when I went and picked the program, that I wanted to go to. It's like,
so you really the epitome of when I put my mind to something, like I'm gonna get it done.
Yeah, man. Whenever your perspective kind of change, and when you can like kind of see life, the way that you envision it, you'll start moving towards it. Yeah. I truly believe, what I'm saying, like, we move towards our ideas.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes somebody outside of your situation to give you a new idea. Because if you only know what you know.
Right.
And if you honestly say, I only know what I know, you're gonna pursue those ideas. Sometimes unknowingly, like I was pursuing some ideas about myself that I didn't realize whenever I was getting pulled over for drinking and driving. Yeah. And whenever I was, kind of blowing it in, I almost got kicked out of school because I wasn't showing up to class, just kind of out partying because, pursuing some not so good ideas about myself. But yeah.
And here I am thinking, man, man, this guy right here, man, I've only known him as, he don't do nothing wrong, always on time. He just been the golden child his whole life, man. So I want you to, because like I said, I never heard this part or this side of you before. Yeah. So I want you to kind of speak on, like, so you said you got pulled over for drinking and driving twice.
Yep.
And I'm sure it's a lot of people that probably dealt with that situation. Like, what do you think put you in that state to where you were even caught up in those situations? Like, what led up to that point?
Yeah, I mean, in all transparency, man, I was experiencing some depression. At that time in my life, I had a son, and I wasn't even, like a lot of guys that I've had a chance to kind of work with. I was a non-custodial dad, and I was, at that point, I wasn't sure how to kind of navigate the world of trying to be, in my son's life and present in his life, and still, and not being married and all of that kind of stuff. And I felt like I had repeated something that had been so thematic to like my family generation. Like, here I am doing the same thing that everybody else has done. And so with that came, once again, a lot of negative ideas, a lot of a sense of failure. And so that kind of played into it. And also, just the culture that I was in the military at the time. I was in a career field where, it was a mentality, of drinking, and there was a mentality of like, partying a lot, and just, things that kind of fed into, stuff that I was already dealing with. So it was a really, really poor self-concept, man, trying to overcome, those negative views of myself, and be something to be something different from what I had always known.
Yeah.
So
I would say, so, because a lot of people say, well, I grew up in this environment, or I heard you say you grew up without a dad. I can say I grew up without my dad, but I had a father. Like, I tell everybody that, like, my stepdad is married to my mom. She met my mom when I was 3. I knew of my dad later on, but everybody, or we tend to make this excuse like, well, I grew up in this environment, I had to do what I had to do type thing.
Right.
But as I got older and, I started, living, my life a certain way, everybody has a choice.
That's right.
I feel like everybody has a choice to do what they want to do in certain moments. I tell, I got people, in and out of jail and stuff like that in my life that I talk to. And I tell them straight up, like, hey man, I get you did what you did, you know what I'm saying, and everybody innocent, you know, and you might be, but what did you do for it to get to that point to where you in the situation that you in? And I feel like everybody got a choice. I feel like everybody got a choice to decide if they, want to do X, Y, Z, and if you able to live with that choice, you able to live with whatever consequences come with that choice. So, how important is the father figure in the child's life, or you can say the black male not being in the son's life? How important do you think that is?
Man, it is so vital, and we got to get beyond like you need having a father figure so that you can behave differently, or you can feel differently. Like, it's way beyond that, man. The importance of a father figure in a young black male's life is about identity. It's about a high affirmation of masculinity, in terms of like how that kid understands himself in the world that he lives in.
Right.
And what we see a lot of times, and what I saw, during those early days, is that, I might have been a little bit narcissistic, but you know what I'm saying? I can kind of take that, but I'm out here trying to find my own definitions, you know what I'm saying, on what makes me, that dude.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, those, you're trying to find those things in sports, you're trying to find them in sometimes academia, you're trying to find them in Jordans or Polo, you're trying to find them in things that don't have any real substance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That role of a father figure in a young black man's life, it brings substance to his identity, and it helps him understand himself in the world that he's going to venture out into.
Right.
He has a sense of security where he doesn't need, anything to really define him. His definitions all come from within. Because that internal authority has been instilled in him. But when we see that, when I noticed those areas were lacking for me, is because I was always trying to be the life of the party, right? And which is how I got into a lot. I was always trying to be the comedian, or the one who was having the house parties and or block parties for my folks.
You kind of funny though sometimes, I ain't gonna let you do that to yourself. Man, you kind of a comedian, when you want to be.
I can be a comedian when I want to.
Yeah, you try to keep it cool though. You try to keep it GQ.
Yeah, I can be a comedian when I want to be, man. I miss my calling, bro. I really could have done stand-up, bro. I really do feel like I could. But yeah, man, it is, really trying to find like, that kind of definition. And when you see kids who have that sense of security, they're not out here trying to find that in the world. They're just trying to show the world what that is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Damn, man, that's a lot, man, because it's a lot of people out there. I know. All I can remember from, like I said, I didn't have my real dad in my life until later on. I met him later on, probably like 12, 13 years old, and I never told nobody this, but like, so I had my father, my stepdad in my life since I was 3, and I remember my son was 1. I think he was about to turn 1, and I took him to go see my dad, and I had told my dad, I was like, I want you to get to know him type stuff, right? And this and that, because I'm not with the movie, when you meet your dad, like, why you went in my life? You should have been there. I just don't. I couldn't see myself doing that. You know what I'm saying? Right. I couldn't see. I couldn't see myself. You know what I'm saying? Like just disowning. You know what I'm saying? And he trying to be there at this point in my life. No matter how old I was. Right. But anyways, I took my son to see him, and I was like, I want you to get to know him. I'll be back over here. Whatever. And my dad ended up passing like 2 months later, and I remember my brother called me. My brother Josh, he don't really show no emotion like that, so he called me like,
Josh super flat, bro.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
He just called me, dad, dad gone and stuff like that. And Then my little brother called me. And he was crying. And I was like, damn, I was like, I'll come check on you. And then I got off the phone. I remember it was the day after Christmas, bro.
Yeah.
Day after Christmas. And I just started crying. I cried like he had been in my life for my entire life. And I was like, damn, it's crazy. And I wasn't even crying for me. I was crying because I knew he had died alone. And I wanted him to actually get to know, like, kind of not a second chance. Like, I wasn't thinking this at the time,
Right.
but maybe give him a second chance to kind of feel that hole of him probably feeling some way that he wasn't there for us. So, it's a love-hate type thing, for me. But yeah, I kind of dealt with that, and then kind of still dealing with it. Every time, December come around, Christmas time,
right.
Of course you think about the family stuff like that, but that's always in the back of your head when you lose a loved one. But yeah, man.
That's real, bro.
To wrap it up, I want you to kind of expound on like the how important mental health is in the world today, like as far as everything going on, people dealing with COVID, a lot of people done lost their jobs, a lot of people passed over the past few years. I'm pretty sure a lot of people dealing with a lot of depression. I know a lot of people dealing with anxiety and stuff like that. If you can just give like a brief little synopsis on how important talking to somebody is about it, if you feel like you don't have nobody to talk to.
Yeah, man. First, I mean, it kind of, when you were saying that, it's, and transparency is always key, man. What you just got finished saying is what we need more of, in terms of like probably 40% of the African American males that I meet got a similar story, similar place, you know what I mean, and trying to figure out, even as adults, how do I navigate, this void that's in me. And they still got an opportunity with their fathers out there to say, hey, we don't have to let the yesterdays define our tomorrow. Like this could be different. But to the topic of mental health, man, we seen with what's his name? I mean, we seen with Twitch, like broke my heart. But that's a part of kind of like the world that I'm in, every day, where we've learned to mask things so well, especially with African American men. I don't know if it's because of like microaggression. I don't know if it's because of like, racial discrimination and always having to live, under the umbrella of like being in an environment where things are not right, but you got to put on a smile every day anyway. It was.
That was crazy.
When you see like him super bright at the same time, like, man, people are struggling. Especially us. And it's so important. One of the biggest components, and this is kind of what I'm doing some research in for my doctorate, is our support system. The type of support that is there, and I feel like there's more we need more emotional support. So if people are struggling, with mental health, I know there's a shortage on therapists. I mean, it's really it's challenging for people to really get in and have a therapist or a counselor that they can have some consistency with. But I'm saying, like, man, look at life coaches. Look at your friendships. Like, even if you allow yourself to show some vulnerability and just say some things that are going on to the people that are close to you, like, man, that's a step in the right direction.